Welcome to Evergreen Speedway's Home Track Heroes on CW11.
Well, a very pleasant good afternoon. Welcome into Home Track Heroes here on the CW11. Glad to have you in with us. Another couple great hours of racing action for your Sunday night. My name is Caleb Hart. Greg Pylan back in the co-pilot chair with us this week. Welcome back, Greg. Exciting weekend of racing coming up here.
Yeah, very excited. Excited to see the Pro Late models. Excited to see some Interstate batteries. So that's always a fun one with that road course that they run too. So looking forward to it tonight.
We're going to kick them off with the Interstate Batteries Hornet division here. 5 classes of action to show to you on Busch Light Night. And again, we will finish things off with a fantastic 75-lap Pro Late Model A main event. But without further pomp and circumstance, further ado, let us roll down trackside here at Evergreen Speedway as the Interstate Batteries Hornets hit the track for their 30-lap A main event. Your field will look like this on the road course. On the pole, it is the 024 of Donna Gillespie, and next to Donna is the 19 of Scarlett Fisher, sponsored by North Sound Fence.
Next row back, we have the 11 of Mike Hawley, sponsored by Glen Eagle Golf Course. The 30 of Pat Folger, brought to you by Olympia Pizza.
Row number 3, Riley Rudell into a Hornet tonight in the 20 car. Next to him, it's Chuck Fisher, the DCL Construction 06.
Row 4 is going to be sponsored by North Sound Fence with the 81 of Bobby Fisher. On the outside, the G2 of Brad Gruhl, brought to you by Granite Falls Community Chiropractic.
Row number 5, the 101 of Ryan McNamara's True Line Wheel and Frame sponsored car. And the 00 Dan Miller, sponsored by Exterior Wall Systems, Inc.
Sponsored by Hair Inc. is the 15 of Matt Snyder and the 28 of Ethan Payne on the outside.
7th row, Jeremy Smith, the 85X, sponsored by AAA Transmission and Performance, and then Annika Duncan, the 163, sponsored by Misfit Motorsports.
Going back to row number 8, sponsored by Northwest Security and Sound, the 88 of Garrett Kramer. On the outside is the 23 of Bryce Kolar.
Back a row from there, the 025 Trent Gillespie, sponsored by Burger Madness, the 77 of Peyton Hopp, sponsored by Turbo Espresso.
Row number 10, Cornerstone Home sponsored 33 Ryan Hassenfluck, the 07 of Zach Bristol, sponsored by Gourmet Latte.
You've got the 17S of Gino Solomon, who's sponsored by Valley Asphalt, and the CR Gutters 48 of Trinity Rosal.
Then the 717 Diesel Snyder, sponsored by Hair Inc., the 59 Tegan Bjornson, sponsored by Misfit Motors.
And let's go green quickly into the tri-box. So you're watching Scarlett Fisher in the upper left-hand corner, and Scarlett back into second place as they roll onto the back straightaway. Of course, the full screen shot of the whole field in the upper right corner. Bobby Fisher down in the bottom left, looking to the inside of Pat Folger and making some room. And then Trent Gillespie, always fast, coming from the back of the pack, trying to pick his way through the field. So pick your lane and watch on. And there is Scarlett Fisher in the 19 and hanging around. And so far, looking pretty good up in the lead.
Looking really good there in the 19 for Scarlett Fisher. And what a cool view that was to be able to see, especially when Scarlett made that pass, to be able to see no cars in front of her, no doubt who was in the lead there. And now building on that lead as we see the 81 of Bobby Fisher now coming up a little bit hot, back behind the 19 of Scarlett Fisher as they come around that final turn before hitting the start-finish line. But looking awful good here early on for the 19 of Scarlett Fisher.
Yeah, the father-daughter combination really rolling this racetrack nice at the very beginning. It's a Fisher family reunion up front, with Scarlett leading Bobby, and Bobby has been oh so close to the promised land here in the Hornet division over the past 3 years. Be nice to see him finally pull one through and end up at the top spot of the podium.
Certainly would, and we're so used to seeing Bobby finishing up, like you said, on the podium, a lot of seconds, a lot of thirds, but man, what a great race for the 81 of Bobby Fisher is. So excited to see him doing well and making an excellent move there on Scarlett Fisher in the 19. We see Bobby Fisher in the 81 going to the low side as they came around that hairpin turner. Now he's going into that final set of turns here. Now taking over as the lead is the 81 of Bobby Fisher.
So Fisher's got the lead. If there was a driver who has been hosed by more yellow flags over the course of the last few years, it's probably been Bobby Fisher. As you and I can think of 3 to 4 opportunities where he was out cruising in a lead just to have a late yellow bunch the field up to him, and he got late. He's going to pace Scarlett right now, and in fact, he has opened up a big advantage over. That's Brad Gruhl, Evergreen Speedway veteran, who is working his way up into second position. We haven't seen Gruhl as a full-timer in a while, but the G2 has moved into position 2 here just 5 laps into this race.
Yeah, great move by Brad there, kind of taking over the same spot that Bobby Fisher did in that final set of turns there. So Bobby Fisher makes the move in that final set of turns. Brad Gruhl also doing the same thing. And we now start to see Bobby Fisher and Brad Gruhl keeping pace, but starting to pull away from the rest of the field.
Look how hard Gruhl driving that car into turn number 3. He made up some ground on Fisher getting into the corner. We're going to go back a couple of positions. I was taking a look. Garrett Kramer's 88 was in screen there, trying to work his way forward. Meanwhile, back to the front where you've got some smoke showing from Bobby Fischer and a rapidly approaching Brad Gruhl as challenge for the lead is, I don't know, half a lap away from being on.
And that's what we're so used to seeing when we come into that hairpin turn is that, you know, the drivers have to pick when they're going to start to slam on those brakes, causing a lot of that smoke coming up. But, you know, we've seen it also, too, just like what Bobby Fischer did, that taking that opportunity of somebody that brakes a little bit too early, making that pass on that inside turn. But Bobby Fischer doing a good job holding off Brad Gruhl as we see another turn there.
It's a beautiful thing about this road course. There's a lot of passing opportunities, not only with the sheer car speed coming on to the third and fourth corner of the 3/8 mile, but in the middle in that transition area where they're weight transferring through, a lot of drivers choose to take that at different speeds, different velocities, and it gives a great opportunity to pass. Let's look backwards on the field a little ways. We've got a pretty good battle going on here. It's Matt Snyder's 15, and I believe the 88 of Garrett Kramer, who we'd been watching there. Or was it the 00 of Dan Miller? It's the 00 of Miller who got some new numbers on that thing, which I'm still going to have to give him a hard time and trying to make them easier to read for me.
That's what it's so nice about Bobby's car right there. You see that 81 coming through. No problem seeing that, but yeah, it is in fact the 00 of Dan Miller. Still battling back and forth with the 15 of Matt Snyder. Pat Folger in the 30 right behind Dan Miller trying to keep pace with that group, but we're now seeing it looks like the first potential lap here with Bobby Fischer coming up.
That race that we were watching back there is just outside your top three as they were closing in on Scarlett Fisher. So your lead car now navigating slower traffic as in and around the 48 of Trinity Rosal going a lap down, and Bobby Fischer puts slower traffic between himself and Gruhl. That's nothing but a good thing. We'll see how your leader chooses to attack the next lap car coming up, which should be the 59 of Tegan Bjornsson.
You know, you mentioned Trinity Rosal, Tegan Bjornsson. We've talked so much on this show, too, about race night and about the Youth Hornet group that's coming up. Both of those drivers are veterans of the Youth Hornet division, so fun to see them move up into this Interstate Batteries group as, you know, the full race comes to fruition here. But nice to see a large grouping of Youth Hornets that have decided to stick with racing that have now moved up into this series.
Which is absolutely the idea behind the Youth Hornet division. Give the youngsters their first introduction to what racing Evergreen Speedway looks like, and hopefully over the years they become our Hornet class, our street stocks, our mini stocks, our legends, and maybe even our Pro Late models.
Always love seeing the Shark Tegan Bjornsson out there as we take a look back here to your leader, Bobby Fischer in the 81. Still Brad Gruhl in that second spot. Scarlett Fisher still holding on to third in the 19 out of frame right now, but Bobby Fischer doing a great job. And there's a great battle with a little sideways move there, and it looks like that is that Trent Gillespie or Donna Gillespie maybe?
Donna Gillespie's 024 is Trent's got the black with flame job on it, and we're going to get a look to the in-cockpit shot from Dan Miller right now, who is rolling around position number 5 and right on the back of Snyder in the 15, who's working on the aforementioned Scarlett Fisher in third, that red 19 car in front of him.
And Snyder trying to take a look to the inside, nothing there, and going to tuck back behind, but here comes Dan Miller in the 00 going low right next to Matt Snyder, so looks like taking over that 4th spot now right behind the 19 of Scarlett Fisher as they come across the start-finish line. But great move there by Dan Miller on the low side.
Wow, look how close he was cutting it to the Uke tires coming in through off of that 4th corner and into the intersection. But Dan making the pass and now on the outside of the top 3, looking in but trying to make his way through. Meanwhile, at the halfway point, Bobby Fischer has opened up a little more lead on Brad Gruhl, so we're halfway right now, 15 in the books. 15 remaining in the ledger, and Bobby going to have to continue to work his way through slower traffic if he wants to hold the top spot.
Yeah, and you have other drivers to watch too. In spot 6, you have Zach Bristol, then you have Peyton Hopp, you have Trent Gillespie, so 6, 7, and 8 position right now. But those are drivers too that definitely can make some moves towards the end of this race coming up.
Well, Dan Miller has worked his way into third, so he passed Scarlett Fisher. He's now navigating the slower traffic of Gillespie and right before that Bjornsson. So Dan into third, but he has got a ways to track down the top 2. You can see they had already exited and were making their way onto the back straightaway before Miller had even gotten around that corner. But again, Dan Miller third. There's first and second. The red, white, and blue 81 of Bobby Fischer. And the green G2 with white trim behind him is Brad Gruhl 1 and 2, and they've been that way for a while.
So Bobby Fischer trying to get around Diesel Snyder here as they come back into that turn. You talked about Dan Miller making that pass into 4th. Right behind him was the 07 of Zach Bristol, now into that 5th spot. So making some great moves there is Bobby Fischer side by side with the 717 of Diesel Snyder passing by on the low side. And here comes Brad Gruhl, going to try and do the same thing as we're, like you said, just under halfway through or just over halfway through this race here as Brad Gruhl still trying to make his way around that 717.
And this is what I had said before. This is the weight transfer portion of the course. You can see those cars coming left, coming right, all of the momentum shifting one way to the other. The more speed you carry through there, the better you're going to be. As Gruhl trying to chase down Fisher here in Hornet action. And you look at him on the screen, it's a much different view from the cockpit. You really get a great speed sensation from this viewpoint.
Yeah, it's such a fun way to watch this race, too, just to see all the action. And like you said, everything that the driver is going through in these situations where they're coming to these turns. And I think that's what makes the road course so beautiful for this division, right, is the constant turns. It's not just going around in the oval that we're so used to seeing. There's a lot more, things that they have to really think about with some of those turns and what the strategy is going to be.
There's even drivers who, depending on the course here in the Hornets, will be actively shifting during the course of the race, depending on what part of the turns they're coming in and through. You can see Fisher, he has lost a little bit of the pad that he had over Gruhl as he works into slower traffic. Jeremy Smith's 85X lingers in front of him. And for third and fourth, Dan Miller, the 00. Zach Bristol, who is coming off a win the last time we saw this Hornet division on track, sits in the fourth spot, and he is hunting for a podium himself as we're down to single digits laps left to go. Only 9 more circuits around Evergreen Speedway for this Hornet main.
Yeah, great battle here between the 00 and the 07 as they come into that tight turn. And looks like Zach Bristol going to take the low side here. Nearly got side by side with the 00. And there's some issues right in front of Brad Gruhl in the G2. It's going to be the 85 car, and that looks like it's going to be Jeremy Smith that kind of gets in the way, and that's just going to allow Bobby Fisher to extend that lead even further.
Well, the key thing for Bobby is that we stayed clean and green through that. If a caution had happened, that bunches everybody out. That's terrible news for him, as is he's going to get to enjoy the full benefit of all that ground he just gained over Gruhl. We've got 8 laps to go, and Fisher, he's seen this story play out before. Large, near dominant lead. He's got to avoid the yellow flag guy at this point in time. That's going to be his worst enemy.
And I think one of the things as we take a look inside with Bobby Fisher in the 81, you see how much traffic is in front of him, and that's one of the things that I think is so interesting, especially towards the end of these Interstate Batteries Hornet races, is you're going to have that leader that's going to be passing everybody, and they're coming down where we have 8 laps now remaining, and all of a sudden Brad Gruhl is just licking his chops a little bit because now he might be able to catch up a little bit with the 81.
Especially considering all these drivers are racing for position. As you saw him get around Gino Solomon, now he's going to have to work around one of the young stars of Evergreen Speedway, Riley Riddell, in the 20 and the 11 of Mike Hawley. But Fisher's making all the right moves and all the right choices. Doesn't seem like the slower traffic held him up too much as he's down on the rumble strips, coming on through, and this time crossing by. Should be down to just 5 laps left.
And as you said, Bobby did such a great job getting around all of that lap traffic, and now Brad Gruhl's going to have to do the same thing, right? So Fisher now out with a little bit of clean air in front of him.
3 slower cars between Fisher and Gruhl at this point in time, and it's going to be huge for Brad to try to make his way past those cars without breaking stride, without losing momentum like he did when he was trying to get around Smith. Down to 4 to go, still 3-lap cars between your leader, Bobby Fisher, and Brad Gruhl. He's the green and white car entering the corner right there.
So yeah, Bobby Fisher here in the 81, still taking a look at him and see all the separation he has now with the lapped cars that you just talked about, Caleb, and behind him. And Brad Gruhl he wasn't able to make the passes like Bobby Fisher was as quickly. Bobby Fisher did it within about a lap, and you see Brad Gruhl still struggling to get around all 3 of those lap cars.
There's your 3rd place car of Dan Miller, and Miller is rapidly approaching the back of Gruhl. There is 1 slower car between him and Gino Solomon, and bringing Bristol right with him as well. So 2nd, 3rd, and 4th about to get highly contentious as your leader is just absolutely blowing him away and using all of this opportunity he has to stretch this lead. It looks like the lead is growing between Fisher and Gruhl, and Fisher again just hoping that the green lights stay on for 2 more times around.
That's right, just has the 28 of Ethan Payne now out in front of the 81 of Bobby Fisher as they come down the backstretch, but looking awful sharp. Still no Brad Gruhl in sight in the G2, and Ethan Payne goes a little bit wide there, keeps it out. What a great recovery there to keep it out of the grass, and there is the white flag for Bobby Fisher in the 81.
Wow, this would be the one. I mean, we've watched Fisher lead so many laps in this division but not be able to bring it home. Is this the lap? He's only got about a half track left to go. 2 more left-hand turns, and you can bet that if it's clean coming forward to him, he's going to be celebrating. JP has got the checkered flag in hand, and this is the one. Bobby Fisher gets it done out in front of the field. Congratulations to him. Second to Gruel. Nice race. Third to Dan Miller. And let's go talk with your top three at the Angel of the Winds Casino Resort Podium.
Dan, strong run in this 0-0 thing, or 0-0 car. Fortunately, this thing went green to checkered for you there, so no chance to really catch up with Bobby and Brad, who were kind of checked out.
Yeah, there was a lot of traffic, and I thought I'd be able to catch him, but just didn't happen. Not enough time.
I know you had quite a few guys kind of right behind you, as well as Zach Bristol in the 0-7 car. What was it like trying to slice your way through traffic and still trying to maintain that position ahead of him?
I seriously think Zach was cutting me a break.
Still great racing, especially in this layout. Once everybody can get a little bit strung out here, what are the layouts here that you guys run in the Hornets is kind of your favorite?
This course for sure. This has always been my favorite.
I'd like to thank sponsors, supporters you guys got with the 0-0 camp.
Yeah, we got a few. We're going to thank Terry and Rebecca, Exterior Wall Systems, Turbo Espresso, Rick's Mobile AC, Hornets Nest Racing, Mickle Manning, Jeff Johnson, Whiskey Years Over, the fans for coming out and being blessed with this nice weather finally.
Dan Miller brings home a third place run tonight, the 0-0. Nicely done, Dan. Brad, you're right there with Bobby, and then a few interesting moments, let's say, in lap traffic there. Some heads-up driving coming off of 4 on the brakes to avoid that 85 car as well.
Yeah, you know, I tried as long as I could to follow Bobby. That guy's a hell of a driver. All these guys are a hell of a driver out here. So, you know, I did what I could. We got some lap traffic, and it is what it is. You know, I kind of fought my way through there. So,
I know with this G2 car, it's been strong in qualifying, trying to get up through the field. You haven't got the brakes. Tonight, you finally got the brakes with a little bit of track position on your side. What's it like to get a podium run here finally?
you know, this is my first time up here, so it's rad.
I know a lot of sponsors and supporters you got in this G2 camp. I'd like to thank them.
Yeah, I've got too many. Granite Falls Community Chiropractic, Elevate, Demo Dudes, Brandy Hood Promotion, Hemi Holland LLC, Frost Towing. I think that's it.
Bobby, last time we spoke, it was a second place finish tonight, the main event win, and man, traffic was kind of the name of the game here with it going green to checkered. How do you manage to sort your way up through the pack?
I'm thankful that it stayed green the whole time, but I was confident even if a yellow come out, I should have stayed in front, but it would have been close.
What was it like battling with Brad there? You guys had quite a good race there until you got a little bit more separated.
You know, he's fast. I knew I could get him on the straightaways and he would catch me in the corners. So as long as I kept my line and didn't give him room, I should stay in front of him.
One of those classic seesaw battles where everybody's not trying to give up an inch.
Yeah, I knew I'd be a little bit better in traffic as well. So I was actually hoping for a little traffic.
Worked out in your favor. I'd like to thank all the guys that helped you get out here with the 81 camp.
Yeah, I thank everybody that comes out and watches us, everybody who helps me in the pit, all the racers in general. It's so fun out here. I'd like to thank North Sound Fence, Lund Orthodontics, LDP, and Central Welding.
Bobby Fisher, main event winner tonight, car number 81 of the Interstate Batteries Hornets. Nicely done, Bobby.
Well, after a fun Hornet main event on our first segment, segment 2 features the Frank's Radio Outlaw Figure Eights here on Home Track Heroes on the CW11. He's Greg Pyland. I am Caleb Hart. And the big boys, the baddest toys, going around the Figure 8 course coming up next. Let's get a look. Starting lineup is on track. It's Mackenzie Dietz, the BECU number 67, and Richard Shanebrook, the 98, sponsored by Pristine Landscaping, making up row number 1.
Row number 2 brought to you by A1 Auto Service, Ryan Berg. It's the 767 of Jamie Corbett. On the outside, brought to you by Precision Traction Management, it's a 0 of Jillian Lopato.
Row number 3, the Northwest Adventure Rentals number 71H of Nick Holton, and the Bulldog Heaven Northwest number 51 of Ryan Clark.
Then on the inside of row number 5, the 83G of Zach Larson. On the outside, sponsored by the Fireplace Guy Hearth and Home LLC, the 50, the Cowboy John Carlson.
74 of Chris Curtis starts in the 9th position. Starting 10th, it is the defending track champion, the 676. Ricky Dietz, sponsored by Tire Pros of Arlington.
Then in row number 7, we have the 25 of Dakota Wilkinson, sponsored by Tony V's Garage. On the outside, the 007 Jim Powers, sponsored by Pilchuck Heating.
And Tail End Charlie, car number 69, RJ Mackey, Monroe Co-op, the sponsor of that car. 13 cars, 30 times around the most dangerous intersection, at minimum in the state of Washington, potentially in the world. About to find out, green flag is out. Dietz with her super stock figure 8 coming out to get some extra seat time, and they had to thrash on this thing as starting the day off, it straight up wouldn't start as they were trying to get the car loaded up in the morning. She'll sit in the 3rd position at the moment, is jumping out to the early lead. It's Richard Shanebrook, but just like that, we're going to have to try her all again. Jillian Lopato in the 0 has come to a stop in the South Pole, and let's get a look at a couple of different replays here.
Hate to see that for the 0 here as we go back into the replay, and just like that, just gets spun out and a little bit of contact there, but Jillian Lopato had one of the probably most famous races last year, being the first female to win in a main event. So much fun to be able to watch the 0 of Jillian Lopato, so unfortunate to see her go out here in the first lap.
And backed it up a couple of weeks ago with getting a feature win this year, so now a 2-time feature winner is Jillian in her brand new and beautiful looking car number 0. Back to the track we go. This segment brought to you by Angel of the Winds Casino Resort. They now have sports betting. Think you can pick a winner? Prove it at Angel of the Winds Casino Resort, the only home for sports betting north of Seattle. Exit 210 off I-5 in Arlington.
So there's a green flag flying here. Once again, we have the 67 Mackenzie Dietz, and you talked about the type of car that she has compares to the regular Outlaw figure 8s that we're used to seeing. One of the things that I always find really enjoyable is watching something like 60 Minutes of Fear, where you have so many of those street stocks and so many of the Outlaw figure 8s coming out, and we've seen Mackenzie Dietz do such a great job at competing against these cars that have a little bit more power.
I'll show you not just the power, but it's the side bite provided by all of those, by the wings, the sideboards, whatever you want to call them. You look at Mackenzie, and as far as straightaway speed goes, she's right there as you watch the 51 of Ryan Clark muscle his way into the lead. But keeping that speed through center corner where these wings are coming into effect and giving the drivers side bite is where she is kind of lacking out. She can't keep her foot as hard in the throttle there because the car continues to wash. Well, meanwhile, in these full Outlaw figure 8s, you watch Clark here in the 51, and that thing's darn near full throttle at mid-turn as we see the 98 of Shanebrook go skittering off the track, and he'll have to file back in somewhere.
Maybe the Cowboy had a little bit of something to do with that in the 50 car, and we saw the 676 of Ricky Dietz right behind him as we take another look here. That was the 83G of Zach Larson. Back up to your leader, the 51 of Ryan Clark, looking really sharp out front as he continues to go around. And there's another look at the Cowboy and Ricky the Kid Dietz in the 676 back up behind him.
Second, third, and fourth make that the 50 of Cowboy, the 676 of Dietz, and the 74 of Curtis. Some of the established division veterans getting after it in those spots, but they're all chasing Clark, who has just had an incredible start here and continues to distance himself from this field. They're all trying to chase him down. The more laps he can clip off without having to worry about the intersection or somebody immediately behind him, the better for Clark.
And that's the key. You know, we talked about some of the excitement that happens with the Interstate batteries towards the end of the race, and I think sometimes that's true about the Frank's Radio Outlaws, because you're going to see here the 51 Ryan Clark out in this nice little lead. There's not as many cars that are kind of coming into the intersection where they have to make that decision where they're going to step on the accelerator or step on the brake. And we see Ryan Clark just cruising here and able to take whatever line he wants to. But as this race starts to progress, we're going to start to see a lot more action in that intersection.
So I'll tell you what, watching the car attitude of Ricky Dietz sitting in third right now, and I talked a little bit about Mackenzie in center corner without the extra side bite. Ricky is really good from the apex of the corner off in that car. You can see that's where he narrows the advantage that Cowboy has on him. Dietz might have the best car of those three that we were watching. The question is, can he get around Carlson? Because passing in this class, it can be very, very difficult. If he can get around Cowboy, then he still has to run down Clark. And as of this time by, we're a third of the way into this race already.
You know, and seeing a lot of races, the 676 has raced Ricky Dietz. I know that to go through tech, you probably have to have some semblance of brakes, but I'm not exactly sure that he still has brakes when he comes into the race, because I sure as heck don't see him use them.
Brakes are your guys who want to slow down, right?
That's right.
So your leader now, the 51 of Clark, is around on the back and working on the 007 of Jim Powers. Powers is leaving just enough of a gap open getting into the South Pole that 51 of Clark could stuff his nose in there. But this is going to be important. Ryan needs to get by him quickly because the room that he had between himself and Carlson is shrinking rapidly. The longer you follow slower traffic, the more it holds you up and your lead goes bye-bye.
And then he's going to have to make that choice. Is he going to be able to get to the inside of that 007 of Jim Powers, or is he going to have to try and work to the outside and make that pass? But That's going to allow the Cowboy John Carlson in the 50 and Ricky Dietz in the 676 to be able to catch up a little bit too as they continue to be single file here coming through the intersection.
You saw Clark laying the chrome horn to him a couple of times in the North Pole. I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see it coming into the South Pole a little bit, just trying to give him enough of a bump that he misses the center of the turn. Now he's coming up on Mackenzie, and he will pass by her, and now to the outside, Clark gets stuck around the high side trying to get around Dietz. Now what does Carlson do as a counter punch? He does not have to make the same move because he managed to get to the inside of the North Pole. So advantage Carlson as he makes up a ton of ground again on the 51 of Clark, who just cannot get around Jim Powers.
The 74, Chris Curtis too, being pretty patient, I think, running a good race here so far, is still waiting for that opportunity, but Powers is really bunched up this field as we see great move there by the 51 of Ryan Clark, just able to get to the inside of the 007, but now going to be on the outside unless he able to slingshot around him here as they come around the turn. But good move there by Ryan Clark, but definitely Jim Powers kind of slowing down in front there a little bit, allowed this group to get a little bit closer back again.
All right, so Clark has made the move. He got by. The question now is, can Powers hold up Carlson? If he does, and he does not, because watch that, Carlson right up on his back and quickly to the inside. So, yeah, Clark got around him, but it sure let Cowboy get close, and Dietz has followed through as well. So 1, 2, and 3, they're going to be battling sooner rather than later with just 13, making 12 laps to go. And bad news for Gunderson in the 83. He is stopped by the Uke tire.
Yeah, some issue there for the 83G of Zach Larson. They're stuck there in the corner as we're going to be taking a look here at the following race with 12 laps to go.
Yeah, we did not get a look at what happened to Larson, so unfortunately no replay on that one. But interesting battle up front. Now they're clear of slower traffic, Greg, and let the leaders battle it out for the W with just a handful of laps to go here.
Yeah, so we'll see what Ryan Clark can do now as he have a little bit of separation here. We're going to see the Delaware restart, and that means Jim Powers is bumped back a row, and so we're going to see the 51 of Ryan Clark, 676 of Ricky Dietz, the 50 of John Carlson here as a green flag waves once again, and we are underway. But always love that version of the restart. It definitely gives that advantage to the 51, able to take whatever lane that they want, and we see Ryan Clark a little bit more of what he's been doing all race long, back out into the lead and looking very strong here.
Dietz really had to battle to hold that third position. He was caught around the outside of the South Pole, but managed to sneak back down into line in front of Curtis as they got to the North Pole. So top 3 go unchanged. Next time by 10 to go. And what's been the Ryan Clark show here in the Frank's Radio Outlaw Figure 8 Division at Evergreen Speedway here on our Home Track Heroes program. Clark in the black, red, white, and blue, number 51. Then it is Carlson, who is kind of an island unto himself. There's a lot of team racing here in the Outlaw Figure 8s. I mean, Clark's 51 is teamed up, part of the Boney Brothers group that runs with Curtis. Cowboy kind of unto himself. Ricky Dietz in the 676 shares the shop with Jamie Corbett, the 767. So there's a lot of information traded. It's Cowboy who's kind of out on the island.
All by himself. And, you know, we talked about during the last race about Bobby Fischer not wanting any of those caution flags, but I think in this situation, Ryan Clark probably was happy to see that caution come out just for the simple reason that you're going to bunch up the rest of the group again. You're not going to have as many of those laps where you're going to have intersection action, and he can go back to doing what he was doing at the beginning of the race, taking those low lines and continuing to lead with his single file track behind him.
I think you're spot on, specifically here in Figure 8 racing, where, you know, the advantage in one corner is the disadvantage in the other. Getting those guys side by side for a restart is nothing but good news for him. Get him racing, get him battling, and try to roll out and get himself some breathing room once again. As we're watching the race for third, Chris Curtis right up on the back of Ricky Dietz, making his life difficult.
Yeah, and a little bit of contact there, but Ricky Dietz doing exactly what he does best and be able to keep things rolling here once again. We see the 51 Ryan Clark getting around the 98 of Richard Shanebrook, and some issues there for Jim Powers. A little bit of smoke show coming out, and he's going to head off into pit lane.
Ooh, you wonder if he didn't put down a little bit of fluid up there around the racetrack as he exited, although right now, so far so good. Nobody up into it going spinning out, so 5 laps to go. Your leaders managed to avoid Powers off racetrack. Battle for second continues. It's been a good one for the bulk of this race between John Carlson in the 50 and Ricky Dietz in the 676. They started on the outside lane in positions 8 and 10 starting this, and there goes Dietz. He's got the spot.
Yeah, what a great move there on the inside of the Cowboy John Carlson. Ricky Dietz making that move in the 676 coming to the inside, and there goes the 74, Chris Curtis, getting into the side of the 50, John Carlson. So a little bit of issues there. They're going to be locked up, it looks like, maybe even connected, but what a great move by the 676 to get into that second spot.
Oh, what a rough mechanical weirdness we got going on here between Carlson and Curtis. The right front of the Curtis car is just wedged in the absolute wrong spot of the 50. That was your third and fourth place cars, and they're going to come to a stop, and it ruins the run for the both of them.
You know, we're so used to seeing, you know, for a demo derby, cars chained together, but this isn't exactly what we were looking for in this Frank's Radio Outlaw figure 8. And here we see a replay here, just getting into the side is the 74 there of Chris Curtis, and that's right at the point that he connects with John Carlson in the 50, and they are going to be partners in crime here as they go around this track.
Welcome back here to Home Track Heroes in the CW11. We are most of the way into a pretty fantastic Frank's Radio Outlaw Figure 8 main event. I'm Caleb Hart, he's Greg Pyland, and let's go back to the track with, sounds like about 3 laps to go, Greg. This is going to be a shootout.
Yeah, very exciting here as we go back, and we're under caution here with the restart. Still the 51 out in front, that's Ryan Clark. Then we have the 676 of Ricky Dietz. On the outside here as the green flag flies, and we have the 767 of Jamie Corbett. So great view here as we see a couple of in-car looks here from Ricky Dietz and Jamie Corbett, but Ryan Clark in the 51 with that restart, able to get back out in front, and now the 676 up into the second spot. You
can see Curtis in the 74 and the 50 of Carlson rapidly trying to climb their way back through the field. We'll watch them. Meanwhile, the 51 of Clark, you know it, right back out in front. So we're getting ready for, I don't know, white flag the next time around. I'll tell you this segment brought to you by Central Welding Supply. Their mission of excellent service hasn't changed since 1975. Locally owned, larger inventory and expert staff makes a difference at 27 locations. Find one near you at centralwelding.com. As Ryan Clark has Dietz closing here, but it's too little, too late, methinks, as through the North Pole they go, and to the checkered, Clark gonna hang on and get the W over Dietz. And then to third, ticker says it ends up being Corbett. So the family affair ends up taking 2 and 3. Here at the Outlaw Figure 8 main, we go to the Angel that Wins Casino Resort podium for our interviews.
Behind the wheel of the 767, that is Jamie Corbett. There they go. I'm doing pretty good, just graduated and all. You found your way to that third place spot. Managed to be patient enough to watch Curtis and Cowboy get together there. What was that like from your perspective?
I mean, that was awesome. I couldn't catch those guys. They were just on a rail, and I was just kind of the caboose following along, and you never know, dude. Things happen, and I was able to squeak by, and they had a little mishap and benefited me for third place.
Patience, I suppose, would be the name of the game in that case. Drove at 76.7 to the third place spot. Who would you like to thank for your performance tonight?
You know, I want to thank Ryan Berg, A1 Auto Service Center, Tire Pros, Laura Adams, Wellness Solutions, and Dan Miller with GN Northwest. And most of all, my crew chief, Paul Peterson, he's a huge help. My spotter, Grasshopper, you know, there's Ricky Dietz, you know, these people keep me out here. Doug Wilkinson, the whole family, and I love to see all you fans, and thank you.
Driver of the 767, third place tonight, that's Jamie Corbett. Put on a show in that 676. You were battling with Cowboy for a lot of that race. What was the secret to letting you get around him?
He messed up going into the south turn and left me a big hole. Cowboy's really good. He's been around this track a long time and got many laps. I just got lucky there. You know, I wasn't even sure this car was going to be that good because, you know, last weekend that we raced, I knocked the whole front frame off of it. But, you know, my brother, this is the first time my brother and I are on the podium together. That's great. It's awesome. Here he is right here. A lot of you guys don't even know this is my brother because we got different last names, but he's my little brother from another father. And he's my little big brother. But we did it, dude.
Finally, we're on the podium together. Not first and second, but we're here.
Yeah, that's cool. You know, I gotta thank my brother here for helping me put this clip on the car. Paul Peterson putting the clip on the car. My girlfriend, Katie, she helped me put the clip on the car. It was a lot of hours, and I gotta thank all you fans for being here. So that way, I needed to put a clip on my car and come out here and have some fun and try to entertain you guys. And Tire Pros, the shop of Arlington. Thank you, man. Ryan Berg, you you make this happen for me. This is a Gunderson Speed Shop car, so what can you say? They're hard to beat around here. Gunderson Speed Shop cars are great. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Bobby Black, for still being around 45 years later and helping me instead of my dad. Thank you, Hobbs, and all these push truck guys and officials, you, everyone, all the fans mostly, though. Thank you.
Driver of the 676, finishing second tonight, that's Ricky Dietz. We've waited a bit for this, haven't we, you and I, waiting for this interview. It's great to have you up here in the number 1 spot this time around. You had a great car today. What was the secret to that thing?
Oh, we've been chasing that car all day and found something wrong with it in the rear end in the pits and made that adjustment. And as soon as we did that, the car was hooked up good for the main.
I think the obvious question is, how's it feel to take the win home tonight?
Oh, it feels great. This is my first one here at Evergreen, and this is such a good feeling. I've been chasing this for so long. After last year, we really needed this. We only finished 1 race on the podium and broke pretty much every other race. So this is really needed for the team, and this is a great feeling and great momentum.
Speaking of that team, who would you like to thank for first place finish tonight?
I got so many great people. Presented by Erica and Vince Ortada, Bulldog Haven Northwest, Action Machine, Bud Barton Glass, MCA Creations, Holton Racing, NBQ Chassis, God, there's so many, IBOC, Elevate Media, Turn 1 Media, my dad and Chris. Those 2 are the biggest help in what I do, and they've supported me now for, God, 6 years of figure 8 racing, so I can't thank them enough. And this race is very special to me. We're celebrating the life of Amanda Riddell Cabana, and she was very special to me, and this is really big to take it home and win on her night. You know, we're excited. Yep, this one's for Amanda, and you know, we're going to carry this into our big year this year. We're going to be going to Colorado National Speedway, and this year we're going to be participating in the 3-hour World Figure 8 Championship this year, so it's going to be a pretty big deal.
Driver of the number 51, race winner tonight, Ryan Clark.
Well, congratulations, Ryan Clark's first Evergreen Speedway win. Thanks to Eric Todoroff for the interviews. That was fun. Let's move on. BECU Mini Stock time coming up.
Love it. I'm super excited for the BECU Mini Stocks tonight, and like you said, congratulations, Ryan Clark, for his first win as we head down to the track. And we'll bring you the starting order here for the BECU Mini Stocks. On the front row, the 27 of Jason Ingbaum, sponsored by Lewis & Main Restaurant Brewery in Monroe. On the outside, the 61 of Randy DeMars, sponsored by ATR Andrews Truck Repair.
That second row is the U.S. Seafood number 72 of Ronnie Absher. Next to him, 23 of Ellie Musgrave.
Row number 3, Gavin Belu in the 12, sponsored by Reardon Engines, Cole Reardon. On the outside, the 18 of Brooklyn Bender, sponsored by PR CBD.
Scott Lacrosse has jumped into the seat of the 2 car for the week. He'll start 7th in the Crooks and Kings Barber Company car. And Jimmy Absher, the 26 car, starts outside of him, the Absher Build LLC machine.
Row number 5, sponsored by Clean Crawls. It's the 21J of Justin Brave. On the outside, sponsored by PR CBD, is the 221 of Lyndon Smith.
Row number 6, the Cookie Queen. Jaden Kelly drives the Tom's Automotive number 24, and the 12th place starter in the Simon & Son Towing number 16, it's Travis Woodward.
And the final row, all by himself, it's the 14 of Austin Kramer, sponsored by the Village Tap House and Grill. And I love that look at you talk about the Cookie Queen. There it is, in car with the 24 of Jaden Kelly.
With the wonderful Brandy Hood Promotions GoPro shot. You've been seeing that all throughout our Home Track Heroes production. Green flag is out. Down the front straightaway goes Jason Engbaum, leading us into turn number 1, and he is bringing Absher on with him through the first and second turns.
Yeah, big jump there by Engbaum. Obviously, it was allowed. We don't have a caution flag coming out here, but great start there for him to be able to roll out there, the 27 of Jason Ingbaum, as we see them coming out of turn number 4, heading down the front stretch. But great start here. We'll see if he can hold on there in the 27.
Wow, did you see? Oh, look out! Brooklyn Bender cruising around in the 18 car and to a stop to the inside. They were 4 wide deep in the field on that initial start. It was crazy. Something had to break loose. As Bender around in turn number 1. We're going to take a look at a couple of replays here from the Lyndon Smith perspective. There goes Brooklyn in and around, and we're going to have more coming up here on Home Track Heroes next on the CW11. Welcome back here to Home Track Heroes on the CW11. He's Greg Pineland. I'm Caleb Hart. And we got one lap into our BECU mini stock main event, and then we didn't because spun out happened. And, well, we're going to have to try it all over again. It happens.
It was a fun, exciting start, but we'll see what we can do here with the restart. So we saw the 27 of Jason Ingbaum, and as we were watching that replay right towards the end when that caution came out, Lyndon Smith, we saw the inside of his car, but how impressed were you with his driving there to be able to avoid any kind of damage there?
Extremely quick reaction time, and that's a mark of what ends up being a good driver. Quick reactions, the whole race kind of slows down as they're 4 wide on the start. Green flag is back out, and take a look at the wild man, Jimmy Absher, going up to the top shelf. He's never met a high groove he didn't like.
What a move there, and how exciting there. Turn number 1 and into 2. 4 wide, Jimmy Absher in the 26 rolling, and here comes the 221 of Lyndon Smith. Going to be on the outside there, it looks like, trying to pass on by as the 12 of Gavin Belu is on the low side. But, man, what a run there by the 221 of Lyndon Smith. But Jimmy Absher, props to him on that 4 wide pass.
Ooh, the rough stuff continues for Brooklyn Bender. Big smoke being shown out of the 18 cars. We're going to take a look back in front of the field. So it's Absher in the 26. Yes, that is a car. It has kind of a truckish appearance, but it is a, I don't know, something or the other.
Subaru Brat, you think?
I don't know. They've told us what the car is. I just have a terrible memory for those kind of things. Meanwhile, we know chasing him down, that's a Mustang. And it is Lyndon Smith, who is just a half car length behind Absher. Looking for opportunity. He's going to duck to the high side entering turn number 3, but Absher feeling the heat from Lyndon, who's got a lane open down low coming off of 4.
And looks like he's going to try and even it up as they come down the front stretch into turn number 1. Lyndon Smith on the inside here as he's trying to make the pass on the 220 or on the 26 of Jimmy Absher, and does just that in the 221 down the backstretch into turn number 3. So great move there. Maybe a little bit of contact with Jimmy Absher and Lyndon Smith there out of turn number 4, but the 221, your new race leader with 25 laps to go.
Absher is not going to give this up easy. However, Smith just rolling so smooth through the first and second corner and opens it up down the back straightaway. We're going to get a look for third now. Belu taking on Justin Brave in the 21 car, who's looking for opportunity. Brave sneaking in down low. Lane underneath him. They'll come into your picture again and almost look like he's going to take the spot off of turn 2.
And Justin Brave just like a rocket out of there, out of turn number 4, still side by side with the 12 of Gavin Belu. So great battle here for that third spot. Looks like Justin Brave and that 21J going to have the advantage coming out of 4 now into that third spot behind Jimmy Absher and Lyndon Smith. But great move there. Started off on turn number 4, got side by side in 1 and 2, and eventually takes over that third spot.
Justin's had a very almost linear development within this division. First year they were out there, they struggled. Last year he was up into the mid-pack and started getting racier. This year he's been up front and contending quite a bit, so it's been nice to see him make those nice gradual steps forward to the front of this field.
Always nice to see that progress here for the 21J of Justin Brave. There's Jimmy Absher just coming into screen here behind the 221 of Lyndon Smith as Smith comes out of 4. Now knocks off 10 laps, 20 laps to go now for the 221 of Lyndon Smith in that PRCBD machine. Just looking smooth here as he goes to the outside.
Speaking of PRCBD, swing by PRCBD in Arlington for all your CBD questions or needs for people, pets, and more. Go to prcbd.com and use the promo code RACE.
So here another lap down here. Now we're starting to see a good battle here with the 26 of Jimmy Absher, the 21J of Justin Brave. Brave now going to take a look to the inside as they go down the backstretch. What a pass there, and what a good jump out of turn number 2. Now coming in a little bit hot into turns 3 and 4, able to maintain the car going straight forward, and now going up into that second spot, the 21J of Justin Brave.
Yeah, you saw Absher kind of have problems getting off of turn number 2. Very similar to the way the car's looking right now, and Brave right there to jump on it, take advantage, and drive past into what I believe would be his best finish of the year if he can pull her off in second. So Brave up into the 2 spot, and now giving chase to your leader, Lyndon Smith. Smith is checking out, throwing the keys on the counter and leaving. However, it's never a sure thing. He's still got to make all these laps with no mechanical malfunction. So keep chasing, keep battling, see what happens.
There's a 221 coming up on the 24 of Jaden Kelly. We saw the pass just by Jason Ingbaum by Lyndon Smith in the 221. Now going to be taking a look to the high side, and Jaden Kelly's trying to work to the high side as well. Lyndon Smith able to get around there as he is smooth into turns number 3 and 4. And here comes up Justin Brave, going to take a look to the low side as they come out of turn number 4, getting by some lap traffic here too. So Brave trying to keep pace with that 221 of Lyndon Smith as his the 26 of Jimmy Absher getting by some lap traffic as well.
Your top three trying to cut through slower traffic like a Ginsu knife through butter. Unfortunately, at this point in time, Linden has not had a hiccup anywhere. He just keeps the foot matted to the floor at the halfway point. There's Belu actually working to the inside of Absher, and he's going to shuffle him back, so we've got a new top three. It's Belu moving through, and Travis Woodward is entering the chat. Woodward in the 16 car with a look to the inside going into the third corner.
You know, it's kind of surprising, too. We're so excited on this restart to see that 4 wide. Jimmy Absher on that high side able to maintain that speed around the corners. We see Travis Woodward in the 16 passing by the 26. But, you know, I'm not sure if maybe something different is going on with the car, but he was so fast in those turns early on and now starting to fall back where he's losing some of those spots even in the turns themselves.
You know, interesting. I'm told that you don't fight a whole ton of car fade here in the mini stock division, although we know across the board in any race car, hotter the tires get, they wear out, they start to not grip quite nearly as well, and I wonder, Absher, as willing as he is to go to the far outside ends of the racetrack and really saw on that steering wheel if he didn't overheat the tires a little bit, and he's having to fight that a little bit as the race goes on.
So nice look here on the inside of the 16 of Travis Woodward, back behind the 12 of Gavin Belu as Belu goes high. Woodward's now going to try and work to the low side, coming into 3. Belu with a great job there, coming down to block as they come out of turn number 4. But we saw Travis Woodward passing by Ellie Musgrave, and there goes Woodward again to the low side, holding it on into turn number 1, sticking in that low lane, coming out of turn number 2 down the backstretch, and advantage to the 16 of Travis Woodward.
Yeah, where Belu had enough room to get back down and had him cleared the last time by, Woodward has him covered this time. And down the front straightaway they go. Into the top 3 goes our opening night feature winner, and Travis Woodward in the 16.
And already into the single digits laps remaining as we see Belu hitting a little patch of water there on the low side of turn number 2. All things look good for the 12 car as he's trying to stick with the 16 of Woodward. So the 221 Lyndon Smith now 8 laps to go here in this BECU mini stock main event.
Is it just me, or does the spoiler on the hatchback just look a little strange?
It is a little bit strange.
Well, you don't have a lot of hatchbacks in the division. You've got a more traditional trunk area with a spoiler coming off it that looks very almost late model-esque on a lot of these cars, even with Lyndon Smith out here, your leader that you're watching. Then for Belu, because the car just stops. You don't have a real smooth down runoff area to put the spoiler on, so you put it on the top of the hood at the very back, I guess.
Well, you know, you talked about the Outlaw figure 8s and the benefits of having those side panels, those spoilers, and you know, maybe he just didn't want to be left out. He just wanted to look cool like everybody else.
That works for me. There's Lyndon Smith trying to work through. He's getting a look to the inside of Bender in the 18, and boy, it's just easy mode here for Lyndon. That car is glued wherever he wants it on the racetrack. It gets down, it sticks. And you can see he's not having to really work that steering wheel super hard. He's into the corner, one aggressive turn, and then just maybe a little correction through. Calm, steady hands down the straightaway. He's not having to fight it. It's just nice and simple for Lyndon Smith.
So currently in that second spot is the 21J of Justin Brave, back behind the 2 of Scott Lacrosse and also the 61 there of Randy DeMars. So there's the 221 Lyndon Smith back in. The lead is the 27 back behind the 221. That's Jason Engbaum, but Lyndon Smith in the 221 just out in front, cruising now 3 laps to go.
And you look at it, he's got a full straightaway lead and a corner, I think, at this point on Justin Brave. So for Lyndon, if he's one of those guys that runs the spotter in his ear, they're saying, okay, take it easy, just bring it home. Got a huge run here. You don't have to press it. If you're Justin Brave, your spotter's saying, all right, well, keep your foot to it in case something happens, man.
Yeah, somebody looking for a caution. We've been talking about the benefits, the pluses and minuses of cautions. I think we can both say with extreme confidence that the last thing the 221 wants to see is a caution flag right now.
Don't give anybody the chance to pull up right next to you in any circumstance. One clean lap around the 3/8. JD throws the white flag. Single time left around for Lyndon Smith, who's looking to become a multiple-time feature winner here at Evergreen Speedway in the BECU mini stocks. And he's going to have one more corner to go coming up on Ellie Musgrave, and he will take the victory. So congratulations to Lyndon Smith. He will get the win. Wait for it, wait for it. There's second in Justin Brave, and Travis Woodward will end up taking third. And let's see what our winners have to say after this one.
Travis, I know you guys had some mechanical problems in between the last race, had to rebuild the motor and showed up a little bit late. So a third place run tonight after all those problems has to feel like you guys salvaged a little bit of something for tonight.
Yeah, last race in that last race we finished second. I broke a cam and blew a hole in the distributor cap. So, and we worked on it all week, brought it to the track this morning, didn't make first practice, second practice, had some issues, figured it out. That was rough coming from the back like that.
I know there's plenty of traffic when you're starting back. I think it was 13th or 12th there in the final row. How'd you manage to kind of sort yourself through and pick off some of those guys?
Yeah, it was rough at the start there, but we got in our groove, and my son on the radios got me through it. So today was after what we went through, I'll take third.
I'd like to thank all the guys that helped you get out here with the 16 camp.
Yeah, I got to thank Terry and Grandpa, Kevin, and Arbini Fabrication, my wife, my daughter, Braden. It's been a rough thing, but they couldn't do it without these sponsors. I mean, we got Simon & Son, Moonshine, Brava Pizza, FX Pro, Caliber Collision, Dick's Tire House, and there's just so many people. Steve Peters, he helps me out a lot, so it's been a rough day.
Travis Woodward salvaging the third place run tonight, the 16. Nicely done, Travis. Well, Justin, we mentioned it with third place run last time. You keep sneaking up on Linden there and getting that gap closer and closer, but that Mustang's still pretty tough out in front.
Yeah, I'm trying. Linden's got a fast car, he's a fast driver, so we're trying. Got stuck behind some traffic for a little bit, but car was a little tight, so settled into second, and it was a great night. Happy with the car. Huge shout out to my sponsors: Clean Crawls, J2, Central Welding, Pace Engineering, Craig Rose Shop, Eden Gave Farm, and huge shout out to my motor guy Ben for all the work he's done, and of course my mom and dad for all the work that they do. Couldn't do it without them.
I know, Justin, you said this thing's tight, and already a front-wheel drive car leans to be on the tighter side. What do you got to do when you're in the seat to try and make that thing turn?
Just deal with it mostly just a lot of too much grip, and doesn't really want to turn, but either going a little bit slower so you can come out faster and it will handle better, but mostly just deal with it and hope you get to the end.
Well, Justin Brave, second place run tonight, the J21. Nicely done, Justin. Lyndon Smith, strong run again tonight. Take us through how did you figure out to make that 3-wide move on that second attempt at going green there?
I don't know. I almost regretted that. Somebody slid up, somebody came down. I got really scared.
Of course, you managed to clear everybody going down the back straight, and that put you in perfect position to try and move around and get up to the front. I know once you got to the front, there were one or two little anxious moments coming off of 2 there where you got the left side in the puddle that's developed over the course of the day as well.
Yeah, one of those was on me. I drove it down, and then somebody shot it up the track. I came in. It was scary. I got really sideways out of nowhere. I really wasn't expecting it.
Managed to get together it back up. I know this Mustang has been a great addition to your guys' team and has been strong running all throughout the season. Anybody you'd like to thank that helps get this thing out here for the weekend?
I got to thank the fans for coming out. PRCBD, JVR Racing, Dave Riddell, Central Welding, BrandonBuilt.com, Bosworth Trucking and Grading, my mom, my dad, and Bill Hunt Engines. That's half the reason this thing flies down the straight. Otherwise, I just got to thank anybody who's helped me get to the point I am now.
Now, before the season started, did you foresee all this success so early? I know race car drivers are optimistic at sometimes, but this seems like it's been quite the year so far.
No, I was expecting for first year races to be kind of rough, transitioning from front-wheel drive. But that car's set up so well that it kind of just drives himself. So, no, I was not expecting all this.
Lyndon Smith, yet another main event win in the 221. Nicely done, Lyndon.
You know, we've been kind of small car centric here today on Home Track Heroes in the CW11. My name is Caleb Hart. He's Greg Pyland. As we saw some Hornets, we saw some mini stocks, we threw some Outlaw figure eights in, but let's shrink the cars again and put them on the figure eight course because the Buzz Inn Steakhouse Senior 8s are up next.
That's always great fun as we look to the front row. sponsored by Rep and Welding and Rail, the 46 of Mike Hathaway on the outside, the 07M of Mike Stinson.
Row number 2 is Michaela Larson. She's driving the 57 and sponsored by her husband, Zach. Next to her, it's the 111 of Ashley Shukar, sponsored by Hop Racing.
Now in row number 3, sponsored by B&R Drywall, it's the 102 of Randy Moffat on the outside, sponsored by Ray's Espresso and Machias. It's the 19 of Talon Kolar.
Starting row number 4, Papa's in Monroe, the 16 of Peyton Hop, and next to Peyton, it's the 73 of Derek Myers, who's sponsored by Bulldog Haven Northwest.
On the inside of row number 5, it's the 18J of Jackson Beckles, sponsored by JBR Racing. On the outside, the 78 of Kyle Shukar.
And the final row, Damon Claiborne, the Abendroth Equine Development number 43. Next to him, Andrew Renders, the 40, sponsored by Whidbey Donuts. It's a talented, it's a fun, it's an eclectic and entertaining field, and who the heck knows what's going to happen here, because they're going to go 30 times around here in the Stinger 8s, and oh boy. So we're looking off the back of Ashley Shukar, the full field in the upper right corner, Randy Moffat from the front, and Damon Claiborne from just a little bit back of that. As let's get at her. Green flag's out.
And nice jump there by Mike Hathaway in the 46, getting a nice little lead out in front as we see some action already early on. We have a lot of side-by-side as 46 of Mike Hathaway here out leading in front as they come around the North Pole here. And nice move there, it looks like, coming to the inside. That is going to be the 57 of Michaela Larson.
Larson has worked her way up into second. You're right. Absolutely good racing by her. She'll try to chase down Hathaway. It doesn't matter where you're looking. Something is going on. I can't pick a screen to follow at this point. All right, we'll go back to one screen. This is going to make it way easier. As, oh, look out, around, and problems. Pick a number and root them on. Caleb, is that the 18 of Jackson Beckle?
That was a 19 of Talon Kolar, it looks like, having some issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Hathaway leads. Larson is second. Larson, who is had a really good season here so far and has put together a lot of good laps. Hathaway, who might be like the season leader in laps led, Mike just seems to lead lots of laps. Hasn't made it convert into a win yet, but he's trying. Got the Bride of Chucky flying passenger seat with him and being chased by Larson as they roll into the North Pole just a few laps into this.
The only problem with the Bride of Chucky, I think, on the passenger side is not wearing a helmet. I think if that was, made right, then I would be totally fine, You have a carpool passenger.
Hey, safety matters.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Hathaway opens the door up, at least on the inside of the corner, to the 57 of Larson. However, gathers it back together, makes a better, almost better North Pole. You saw the bottom open up at the apex. Larson right there trying to jump forward and take advantage as we look further back in the field. Claiborne's 43 and the 111 of Shukar doing battle. But there's your race for the lead, and you can see Larson is drawing a bead on Hathaway's 46 and looking for room to get around.
And coming up quick is the 16 of Peyton Hop trying to get around the 07M of Mike Stinson. And here's a great look at that here as Peyton Hop just right on the back bumper as they come through the intersection now, going to try and tuck to the low side. But Stinson doing a great job blocking there as they come around the South Pole. And Michaela Larson, Mike Hathaway still battling for that first spot with the 46 of Mike Hathaway still hanging on. But, man, what a fun, exciting thing to see Peyton Hop coming up behind this group of three.
Our former Hornet Division champion is taking the Stinger 8 racing like a fish to water as he is up in the top 5 and tries the outside around the South Pole to make something happen. Look out, we got a car looping around facing the wrong direction. Derek Myers is going to take a trip through the infield and blend back in, maybe with some revenge on his mind, maybe not. I don't know. Talon Kolar to the inside of Ashley Shukar. They're together. Kolar almost noses into the inside of the Uke tire, and we're going to have to take another look at it. Caution's out on the racetrack.
So here we are, the view from the 111 of Shukar as Talon Kolar just gets into the side right at the start of the North Pole. So a little bit of action there early on in the Stinger 8.
They had to do a lot of work on Shukar's car just to get it up and running this weekend as they're still thrashing on it. Peyton Hop's brother Saxon is the one working on that car. That's the fiance to Ashley. So it's a family affair out there in the Stinger 8s, huh?
Love to see that. Always nice to see all of the family dynamics out in the pit areas. We are still under caution here with Mike Hathaway out in front. There's Michaela Larson. It looks like black flag being issued to the 07M of Mike Stinson.
Well, problems for Stinson. He will go off racetrack. I'll tell you what, with all the family affair racing going on out here, if they don't behave and be nice to each other, they're not going to meet up at the Buzz Inn Steakhouse after the races for a great meal. Buzz Inn Steakhouse, serving hand-cut Angus steaks, breakfast all day, mouth-watering burgers, and visit one of their 13 locations. The Buzz Inn Steakhouse, proud sponsor of the Stinger 8 class here at Evergreen Speedway.
You do not want to miss that invite to the Buzz-In. So I agree with you. You got to patch things up in the pits after the race is over, but you don't want to miss a ride home, and you don't want to miss a chance to go to the Buzz-In.
Nothing says I love you like a country fried steak from the Buzz-In.
That's right. I love it.
So from Hathaway's point of view in the upper left-hand corner, full screen in the upper right, Peyton Hopp right in behind Hathaway, and Larson trying to look to the outside of him. We'll get the viewpoint from all three of our front runners as we're back underway. Ooh, little side shot to Hopp from Larson as they come through, and then Larson gonna loop it out and into the infield. That'll wreck a good run for Michaela.
And I couldn't see if that was Jackson Beckel in the 18J that was right behind the 57 of Michaela Larson. Looked to me like there was a little bit of contact, but Beckel not having any kind of issues, no kind of black flags being issued here for the 18J, is now moving up into that third spot as Jackson Beckel. And here's Peyton Hopp in the 16, battling with Mike Hathaway, trying to get into that number 1 overall spot with the 18J coming up hot.
Yeah, Peyton's looking racy out in front, too. That car seems like it's got a lot of speed as we're watching Claiborne's 43 trying to get around the 102 of Randy Moffitt. Moffitt in the 4th position, flaunting his brand new helmet. I know the guy who sold it to him. Pretty good guy, decent looking, as they work their way through the intersection. And now it's a battle in the top 3 as Beckel's involved. The bottom is opening up. Bad timing, Mike. You're going to have to close her down. Meanwhile, Moffitt and Claiborne leaning on each other, and Claiborne working into 4th.
Yeah, great move there by the 43 of Damon Claiborne, getting around Moffitt in the 102, and here back out to the lead. Jackson Beckel side by side with Peyton Hopp as they come out of the South Pole. Now going to be side by side with Peyton Hopp in the advantage on the inside of the North Pole. Still Mike Hathaway looking like a Delaware restart out in the middle of both of them, not letting either one of them take a lane to pass by.
This is the best news for Hathaway with those two cars racing side by side next to him. However, to the inside of the South Pole, Beckel got a pretty studly looking run there. Hathaway's going to have to make a really good corner here if he wants to beat Beckel back to the inside of the South Pole, and I don't think he did it. Jackson Beckel is looking for the lead coming around this time.
And Claiborne now, as everybody's trying to go back and forth for this first overall spot, Damon Claiborne in the 43, able to play a little bit of catch-up, and Peyton Hopp now passing by the 46 of Mike Hathaway. So not only do we have a new leader in the 18J of Jackson Beckel, new second spot, and it's the 16 of Peyton Hopp.
Intersection's starting to get a little bit dicier for the 18 of Beckel as he'll lead him through, and Hopp going to be on the charge trying to run Jackson back down. Beckel, Hopp, Hathaway 1 through 3. Look out, intersection starting to get fun.
And that was the 111, it looks like, of Ashley Shute car that was in the intersection last time, as we see Jackson Beckel cruising through that time, just halfway done now with this race. 15 laps down, 15 laps to go. Peyton Hopp in that second spot. Damon Claiborne, Mike Hathaway battling for that third spot, and it looks like Hathaway's going to go to the inside, but there's the 40 of Andrew Renders. So Renders coming up and trying to make a name for himself, getting up and hopefully to that third spot, but still held on by the 46 of Mike Hathaway.
Yeah, one of the things that you just saw with Hathaway is he kind of made a big defensive move to keep Claiborne off him, took wide off the corner, and that opened that inside lane up for Renders to just make up all kinds of ground and take a couple of spots away from him. So when you go out to play defense in a figure 8 car, it can have some unintended consequences. Now Claiborne back to the inside of Renders, right into the rear quarter panel. Both cars stay clean, we stay green, as Claiborne feeling awfully froggy here and thinking about jumping. He's got Renders right in front of him, but he wants that 4th spot back and not afraid to use the chrome horn to do it.
You know, I just love what Mike Hathaway is doing right here. Anytime there's side-by-side action behind him, he just kind of positions his car in the middle of both of those two cars. I'm almost wondering if he's running out of gas and he's just looking for cars to push him along the track. But Hathaway doing a great job here, staying in front of Andrew Renders. Renders doing a good job staying in front of the 43 of Damon Claiborne. They're all chasing right now. The 16 of Peyton Hopp in second and the 18J of Jackson Beckel in first.
Hathaway made a mistake getting into the North Pole there and pushed just a little too far on him, and that's going to be the gap that Renders needs to at least get side by side. But again, Hathaway, nice comeback. To the inside he goes and reasserts his dominance over the third place. It's been one of the best Mike Hathaway races we've seen. Well, he's going to get another shot to the shorts that time coming through the North Pole, but he's got a chance to beat Renders again to the inside on the South Pole, and he will. Now this is going to open the door for Claiborne to get side by side with the 40, so we've got quite the battle going from 3rd through 6th, and don't sleep on Randy Moffitt, who's been back there in the white with blue 102.
Yeah, and Randy, there's a little bit of contact there with the 43 of Damon Claiborne. Mike Hathaway in the 46, and Claiborne now finally gets around the 46 they've been toying with him for multiple laps. So good job there by the 43 Damon Claiborne. Now up into third, back up to your leader. The 18J of Jackson Beckel now going to have 8 laps to go with a 16 of Peyton Hopp, as they're starting to see more and more of that action at the intersection. We're not going to see a lot of lifting, I don't think, out of these top 2 drivers.
Oh, no, foot to the floor until you see Jesus. As they come into the South Pole, it is Renders in front of Hathaway, leading the 2 white cars. Moffitt and Shukar coming out of the same camp. And Kyle Shukar's had a sneaky good year himself. Don't get too sleepy on him, as he's still got a chance to make something happen. Peyton Hopp is right up on the back of Jackson Beckel, and the intersection's getting really interesting.
Yeah, and you see having to slow down just a little bit there, but you know, it's the same for the 18J as it is for the 16. So Beckel has to slow down a little bit. Hopp has to slow down, but the advantage I think Hopp has in this situation is he's able to maybe go a little bit wide, as Jackson Beckel tried to go to the inside on that last time through, but Peyton Hopp now just trying to look for any opportunity, as once again a little bit more action at the intersection, and Hopp just getting around contact there.
You know, the second guy through the intersection looks to be having the advantage here. The first one's got to make the decision, and then Peyton's getting the chance to go, okay, he hiccuped, I can throttle a little bit further, because if they're going to hit somebody, they'll hit Jackson first.
That's right, absolutely. So here's Jackson Beckel in the 18J once again slowing down, but Hopp unfortunately not in the right position there. He had to slam on his brakes behind the 18J. Now going to be to the wide side here in the North Pole area as they come around, go across the start-finish line. 4 laps to go here, so we'll see what Peyton Hopp does as they come around the South Pole here, coming into the intersection once again. And this time the 18J of Jackson Beckel is able to cruise through. No action at the intersection that time by.
3 to go between Jackson Beckel and the black with white 18 and the black and yellow 16 of Peyton Hopp. This has been a fantastic battle all race long. Our Stinger 8 racing all year has been really good here at Evergreen Speedway and the Buzz-In Stinger 8s. Beckel intersection is free and easy right now. However, they're racing for position all over the place behind them, as there goes Derek Myers in the 73. Shukar getting bounced around like a pinball in the 111. And Kyle Shukar by, and Shukar gets a little bit of Hathaway through the puddle, dirt tracking it as they get back into the north, and we just keep going.
You know, you think that Kyle Shukar said, hey, you just passed by another Shukar and Ashley in the 111, so he wasn't going to let that stand, I don't think, for too long.
Revenge is his, as Claiborne getting a little messed up, trying to get around Renders, cuts the course, gets back on. Meanwhile, the white flag was out. We got 1 to go, and I think Beckel's going to somehow survive this. As he gets into 3, he'll come off of 4, and yeah, survival might be the word. Jackson Beckel gets the win over Peyton Hopp in the 16, and then, well, a long ways back to 3rd, and somehow Damon Claiborne is going to pick that off and take it. Let's talk to your winners down at the Angel of the Winds Casino Resort podium.
You had that exciting battle with Hathaway and Reinders there for a long time. Walk us through that whole exchange from your side.
To be honest, they were just kind of holding me up. I was trying to catch back up to these guys. They got away from the pack. I just kept getting stuck with intersection traffic, and trying to get around some of the slower cars was a little bit challenging tonight, but I'm really happy to still finish on the podium, especially with how those last couple times through the intersection went, so not too bad.
Had a fast number 43. You confident next time we're out here you can take it to victory lane?
I sure hope so. It's long overdue, so.
Who would you like to thank for your performance out here tonight?
I'd like to thank GN Northwest, Abendroth Equine, developing the horse and rider. She's my main sponsor, and she's also my wife. She's a pretty cool chick, so.
Driver the number 43, 3rd place tonight, that's Damon Claiborne. All right, Peyton, you also had a good number 16 car. You were battling it out there between Jackson and you for those final 10 laps back and forth. What more do you think you needed to get around him?
Man, I was trying everything to get around him. Jackson was holding his line perfectly. I was trying to be in his rearview mirror, trying to tailgate him, doing everything, trying to give him little taps here and there. And I'm not the kind of driver to just drive through someone for the win. And I did everything I could. He did a hell of a race. I mean, that was one of the most awesome battles I've ever done in figure 8 racing, and this is long overdue. I mean, I've been waiting to get in the podium, and that was just an awesome race, and I'm glad these fans are out here to see some good racing like that.
You drove in the Hornet race as well tonight. What's the difference for those who might not know between those two cars?
Well, one's road course and one's figure eight. That's one. But no, it's just a lot of patience in both classes. That's one of the similarities. But yeah, just racing figure eights is a whole lot different because normally you don't have cars meeting you at the intersection trying to destroy you. So.
Who would you like to thank for your performance out here tonight?
Yeah, so I got Hornets Racing. They've helped put this car together. It's a team effort, and Papa's Tavern, my main sponsor, the best bar in Monroe, right off of Highway 2. And I got Plan B Garage, Grandma Grandpa Hop Racing, Matt Johnson Design, my mom and my beautiful girlfriend for coming out and seeing me, and just all you great fans for coming out. We hope we put on a good show for you tonight.
Driver of the number 16, Peyton Hopp, second place tonight. Heard you painted this thing in the Snow Isle Tech auto body shop. So you've put this new car together. How does it feel to take it to victory lane here?
For the second time, feels pretty good. I don't know, that was the longest race I think I've ever raced before. I don't remember much besides I got to apologize to Michaela. I didn't mean to drive through you. I kept getting pushed, but here we are.
Drove the number 18. You've been consistent last season and this season. You think this is the time to make a championship run?
I'm not going to say anything because I'd like not to jinx it.
That's all right then. Who would you like to thank for your performance out here tonight?
PRCVD, JBR, AutoWorks, Stride Line, Elite Fleet Wash, Elite Surface Cleaning, and yeah. Oh, I forgot that part. And Jack Stewell.
Driver of the number 18J, race winner tonight, Jackson Beckel.
Well, we have made it. It is time for the Pro Late Model 75 lap A main event here on Home Track Heroes on CW11. I am Caleb Hart. He is Greg Pyland. The Speedway Chevrolet Pro Late Model, 16 cars, 75 times around. These are our big boys, the baddest toys, Greg, and let's get to our starting lineup.
All right, starting on row number 1, it's the 45 of Nick Beecher, sponsored by Kendall Auto Group. On the outside, the 98 MB of Matt Barrett, sponsored by Quality Quick Lube.
Row number 2, Caden Holm. The K9 is sponsored by Johansson Mechanical. Next to him, it's 14 of Colton Price, sponsored by D2 Foundations.
Row number 3, it's going to be the 12C of Chad Fitzpatrick, sponsored by Trademark RCS. On the outside, it's Wyatt Gardner in the 3 car, sponsored by Gardner Roofing.
4th row, it's Haley Constance, the recent high school graduate, sponsored by Joe's Racing Products in the 78. Next to her, the veteran Greg Bennett. Bennett Design Construction sponsors car number 98.
In row number 5, sponsored by J&R Truck Rentals, it's the 18 of Naima Lang. On the outside, the 70 of Dawson Cox, brought to you by Busch Light.
In the 11th starting spot, Daniel Moore, sponsored by PRCVD. In the 16, Brad Thomas. The 5 is sponsored by Armageddon Arms.
Row number 7, brought to you by Beecher Motorsports, the 74 of Dan Beecher. On the outside, sponsored by Dirt Cheap Sewer, it's the 82 of Angel Cervantes.
And the final row is the 10 of Brian Cottrell, sponsored by Dirt Cheap Sewer, as is the 32 of Chase Gardner. HCI Steel Buildings. We're underway, and kind of like a cookie-cutter replay of what we've seen from a lot of Pro Late Model races. It's Nick Beecher, shot out of a cannon and into the early lead.
Yeah, just great start here early on for the 45 of Nick Beecher. Chad Fitzpatrick in the 12C looking to the low side there in turns 1 and 2. On the outside is going to be the K9 of Caden Holmes. So nice battle there up front for that 2nd and 3rd spot. But there goes Chad Fitzpatrick taking over from the K9. Right behind is the 78 of Haley Constance trying to work up as they come out of turn number 4.
Constance on the move early as she's trying to work her way into the top 5, and she's got it. She'll settle in behind Holm in the K9 and bring in your defending Trek champion, Naima Lang, in the 18 with him. Lang, of course, feature winner already on the season. His car's together right behind him. Bennett making a little contact with Price. Both of them drive away.
Yeah, just in that turn number 4, you saw it as they came down into that turn number 4 out of 3, and just that little bit of side swipe there from the 98 of Greg Bennett into the 14 of Colton Price. Here's another great look here, the K9 of Caden Holm. Haley Constance in the 78 trying to take a look to the low side with Naima Lang pushing from the back, and as they head down the backstretch into turn number 3. But great line there by the 78, now trying to go once again to the inside as they come down. But let's a lot to see here from the 78 as this race continues on.
Holm's going to give Haley the lane down on the bottom of the racetrack. So Constance, door panel to door panel with Holm going into the first corner. Advantage to Haley, and Holm in danger of losing 2 spots here as Lang going to follow Constance right through on the bottom of the first and second turns.
And not something you're used to seeing a Name Lane going to the inside. Caden Holm able to actually be a little bit faster down the backstretch, but that all changes as they come into turn number 3 and 4 as Name Lane in the 18 going to take over that spot from the K9, and Greg Bennett doing the smart thing following the 18 car as they come out of turn 2.
Well, inside lane around the racetrack is the shortest way around the track, as you've got cars making some contact. Daniel Moore, who's also been a feature winner on the year, into the rear corner panel of Holm, who's trying to pull down and get into line. Couldn't quite make it. However, we stay green as everybody drove through it. And right now you're watching second and third, and Haley Constance and Nama Lang trying to chase the young lady down and put some pressure on her. I'm sorry, that's third and fourth.
And you hate to see kind of the drop-off we see from Caden Holm, as you see Haley Constance there in the 78 that was able to get by Nama Lang, Greg Bennett, Dawson Cox. So a big drop-off there for the K9 of Caden Holm as we look back to that third spot of the 78 of Haley Constance. But it really goes to, I think, talk about the skill, the talent of the drivers up behind him, because there's the caution flag that flies. But you have a lot of firepower and back behind him, and just talking about it, there's Caden Holm.
Well, there might have been something on that race car that wasn't quite conducive to getting down and getting into line. And I'll say this, I've watched a lot of Caden Holm racing over the years. He's a graduate from the open wheel ranks, came through 600s at Deming Speedway. Very cerebral racer, knows when he's got the car, knows what the car is doing, and he might have thought, okay, maybe I'm not quite good enough to force myself to the inside. Let's write it out a little bit and hope the car comes to me later. Unfortunately, caution flag there is going to send him to the back of the pack.
So exciting restart here as we have 67 laps to go. We still have the 45 Nick Beecher on the low side, Chad Fitzpatrick on the high side on that restart. Good start there by both the 12C and the 45. Advantage to the 45 coming from the low lane, and here's Haley Constance side by side with the 18 of Nama Lang into 3 and 4. So great battle for that third spot here as we see Nama Lang on the high side as they come across the start-finish line here once again. But it's all Nick Beecher in the 45, the 12C of Chad Fitzpatrick, and still that great battle for third.
Side by side, indeed, between the youngster and Constance and the veteran and Nama. And Nama not really able to get up and circle. Look out, Greg Bennett overcooks it, corner number 4. And caution number 2 in short order comes out for Bennett in the 98. We are going to get a second look at this.
And just gets right into the side of Dawson Cox there as Greg Bennett. And we saw the same thing earlier on in the race where Greg just got a little bit loose coming into turn number 4. Does the same thing here, gets into the side of the number 7 car, gets turned around there in turn number 4. But unfortunate to see for the 98 there of Greg Bennett.
Well, we will continue. Stack them up side by side once again. And that is something that your lead pack, they want to get out, they want to get running and run single file. They don't want somebody restarting right next to them. As Beecher and Fitzpatrick bring us back to green flag action, and we are back underway.
Great look here from the 12C of Chad Fitzpatrick as we are cruising here into turn number 1 and 2. Once again, Nick Beecher in the 45 able to take advantage from that low lane, able to get back out in front of the 12C. Here, once again, that battle for third continues between the 18 of Nama Lang and the 78 of Haley Constance, as Constance continues to stay on the low line, now trying to make a move on the 12C of Chad Fitzpatrick. And what a move by Haley Constance in the 78 out of turn number 2 down the backstretch with the advantage coming into 3.
That was a really interesting line that she took there to get into turn number 1, as she was like 4 full below the white before coming out and above it. Is for the second time in short order, there's Bennett around. So Greg having a rough couple of laps into the back and tagged up on the back of the car that was in front of him. So Bennett spins out, and we're going to have to stack them up 2 by 2 again, and what's been a recurring theme here early on in this Pro Late Model main event.
And what we saw a lot out of Greg Bennett was kind of sideswiping into some of the other drivers. This time it was kind of front-end damage there, so we'll see if the 98 is able to continue on in this race. But once again, we'll see them line up side by side as we work towards the restart.
Once again, that negates the pass, as the lap wasn't complete from Constance on Fitzpatrick, so Fitzpatrick gets the get-out-of-jail-free card. You can see him trying to get down racetrack in 1 and 2, but there's Haley once again making the bold move, and look who's rebounded kind of nicely. Caden Holm coming back up on the inside of Nama Lang, so looks like he started figuring that car out. It's coming to him, and he is working his way back up the pack.
Yeah, after that early spin out, great to see the K9 of Caden Holm now battling with the 18 of Nama Lang. So Constance into that second spot, the 12C Chad Fitzpatrick still in third. Lang taking a look to the high side maybe here for just a moment as they come into turn number 4, but going to tuck back in behind the 12C as they come across with 63 laps to go. Looking at the 78 there of Haley Constance, 12C of Chad Fitzpatrick. There goes Naima Lang once again, looking to the high side down the backstretch.
Making the bid down the back straightaway. This segment brought to you by Tire Pros, the official tire dealer of Evergreen Speedway. Tire Pros, your one-stop tire retailer, where honesty is the best policy and they have a hassle-free guarantee. Tire Pros has all the national brands and offers a nationwide warranty on your tires. Go to TirePros.com, and the tires on the 18 of Lang heating up at just the right time as he drives around the outside of Chad Fitzpatrick, and he'll take third.
Looking sharp there for the 18 of Naima Lang. As we take a look here in turn number 1, Lang sticking to that low side, holding off the 12C of Chad Fitzpatrick, Caden Holm. There's the 14 of Colton Price. As we take a look back to your leader, the 45 of Nick Beecher. Still doing a great job with Haley Constance knocking on the door out of turn number 4 as they come across 60 laps. 15 laps down, 60 to go.
So with Beecher, this is right about the time frame that a race that had stayed green the whole time, you would start seeing something that Beecher has battled a lot, which has been a little bit of car fade, right around the, I'm going to say 15 to 30 lap range. And they're working to diagnose what it is. The question here being, with 3 to 4 yellow flags already, I wonder if Beecher's been able to keep everything a little bit cooler, keep temperatures down, and that race car is behaving a little better for him, because you can't see, it's not like Constance and Lang are making big ground on him. Yeah, they're reeling him up a little bit, but certainly not by big chunks.
And you know, if history proves itself, we're so used to seeing that 18 car get to that low lane and be able to pass by nearly anybody he wants to, right? He's a multiple-time champion, but like you said, Naima Lang not making any progress right now so far on the 78 of Haley Constance, and definitely not making up any space between him and the 45 of Nick Beecher. So looking good early on. Hopefully that car continues to hold up.
18 laps in here to the 75 lap A main. Lang all over the back of Constance, and Constance trying to keep Beecher within striking distance, about a third of the way into this A main event, or closing in on a third of the way into this A main event for the Speedway Chevrolet Pro Late models. Lang going to try a slightly different path that time. He let Haley drive into the corner a little bit harder, picked up the throttle a little earlier at the apex, as yellow lights blink on once again, and that is going to double this field up this time with Constance next to Beecher in the 45, and we're waiting to get word on what the yellow might have been. One of the cars in the back of the field potentially going around.
Well, hopefully it's not Greg Bennett again. We've seen that enough so far tonight, so we'll see what it is, but it looks like maybe it was an issue there with Daniel Moore in the 16 car there, so hopefully things okay with Daniel Moore in the 16 as we look to get him lined back up here once again, heading towards that green flag.
And they're going to stack them up 2 by 2 once again. There's a choose cone that's out right now that we're not seeing, but this is the chance for Constance to start side by side next to Beecher here. It's danger zone for Nick Beecher.
So Beecher's going to take that low side in the 45, Constance on the high side, Naima Lang, and then Colton Price able to get by Chad Fitzpatrick in the 12C. He's going to be on the high side in row number 2. Green flag flies, and we are underway here once again. And once again, the 45, Nick Beecher. Nice move there, and a nice move by Naima Lang now side by side with Haley Constance coming into turn number 3. Colton Price going to try and do the same thing as they get side by side into turn number 4. So the 14 car making a big move, trying to follow the 18 of Naima Lang.
That was the risk you took for Constance, as you got a chance to start side by side with the leader. You got to take it, right? Unfortunately, one of the best in the biz was to the inside in Naima, and Naima takes full advantage. He'll take second over. Haley couldn't get back to the bottom quick enough, and now Colton Price has got third, and she's going to go into chase mode.
And a nice look there at the 3 of Wyatt Gardner. So Wyatt Gardner now making up some space here right behind the 78 of Haley Constance. So Gardner making some moves here as we take a look at the 14 of Colton Price, getting a little bit high there down the backstretch. Haley Constance in the 78. And then it's the 3 of Wyatt Gardner as they come out of turn number 4. Another lap down, 53 laps to go. And great battle here as we see that 18 of Naima Lang now trying to get to the low side of the 45 of Nick Beecher.
Beecher got to try to get down a little bit further. Can't quite get her, although contact as the yellow lights come on. So, well, Beecher's going to have a chance to, again, get to the lower lane and force Naima Lang to the outside. We'll see how he can do, as it's the 5 of Brad Thomas. Yellow flag out at the back of the field. It doesn't look like our camera's caught it, so we're not going to get a replay on this. All right, so the equation's changed once again, Greg. Beecher starts again, and it's Nama Lang's turn to try the outside to see if he can get around him.
You know, and you talked about the car issues potentially for the 45 of Nick Beecher, but these continual yellow caution flags that we have maybe continuing to help him out as we see him still performing very strong here. We'll look to see what he does on this restart as he's on the low side, Nama Lang on the high side. And maybe, who knows, this might be an opening for Colton Price as we see Nama Lang on the high side. Maybe this allows him to make a pass as the green flag is out, and we are underway here once again.
In-car video from Dawson Cox going to show the story from mid-pack on back. As to the inside, Price is now forcing Nama outside, and it's going to drop him back another spot. So Beecher will continue to lead, and now it's Colton Price's turn to occupy the runner-up position. Lang 3, Constance 4, and I want to say Gardner and Cox were battling it out for 5th. Give it to Gardner, at least for the time being.
You know, you talked about on the last restart, Caleb, that Haley Constance being on the outside of row number 1, that advantage that gave to Nama Lang, and Colton Price, obviously a student of the sport and being able to watch and see the exact same thing that Nama Lang did. He pulled that same move, able to get around, holding on to that second spot right in front of the 18 car.
Price, our former mini-stock division driver and mini-stock division champion, if I remember correctly.
Indeed.
Second full year running the late model division, the pro late models here. And right now chasing around Nick Beecher, another mini-stock graduate in and of himself. So Beecher, Price, Lang, 25 laps into this, 50 to go, 1/3 of the way done. Nick Beecher continuing to hold the top spot, but man, he has got some sharks swimming in behind him.
And here comes Dawson Cox, speaking of sharks, in the 7 car right behind the 78 of Haley Constance as they come down the backstretch. But Beecher doing a great job, still holding off the 14. Nama Lang took a look to the low side out of turn number 4. Now going to be side by side with Colton Price as they come into turn number 1. Lang off a low, able to hold on to that spot as he comes out of turn number 2. Back into the second spot is going to be the 18 of Nama Lang.
Now Lang rebounding and working his way forward once again. As around goes the 82 of Angel Cervantes, the dirt cheap Seward car, facing the wrong direction in turn number 2. Well, this has been a really good race for these drivers to practice their starts and restarts. Little choose cone strategy again. This time, it is going to be Nama Lang once again going right up next to the later Nick Beecher. Good thing Nama made that pass when he did. Actually, bad thing because Nama, I don't know if we got that lap complete by the time he made the pass. It's Price starting on the outside of Beecher. We're going to get the in-car look from Nama.
So it looks like Nama's going to try and do the same thing that Price did him on the last restart, and he's going to do just exactly that. Almost immediately out of turn number 2, gets to that low side. He's going to have the advantage coming down the backstretch into turn number 3. Constance rolling up into that 4th spot. Then it's Dawson Cox in 5th, but great job there by Nama Lang, and obviously able to do the same thing that happened to him on the last restart and bump himself up into that 2nd spot.
Following around that very familiar Oberg filter logos on the back of the 45 car of Beecher. Beecher trying to hold him off as this race closes in on the halfway mark. Lang, your defending track champion, multiple-time feature winner, and one of the more decorated drivers in recent Evergreen Speedway history, is following Beecher, who is on the hunt for his first Pro Late Model win and has led them all so far. Nama, boy, showing some good power off the bottom. It feels like he's getting ready to pounce here.
And it's nice to see the veteran you talked about earlier, the 98 of Greg Bennett, able to get things fixed. He's back out there, back behind the 7 of Dawson Cox. Obviously not in the spot that he's not. He's not in the 6th spot right now, but nice to see some fixes coming for the 98 car, get a few more laps in here.
Greg's had a lot of speed this year. Just ran into some bad luck at a time or two. As up front, Lang using the front bumper, trying to rattle Beecher as Beecher drives into the bottom of turn number 3. Nice little single file train tucked in behind him as this race just continues to get better and better between all these starts and restarts. These drivers are putting in good work for the fans out in our Evergreen Speedway stands.
And starting to get a few more laps under their belt here too, is without any kind of cautions. We saw so many of those cautions kind of almost happening in succession, in close succession, and now starting to get some additional laps here as we have 42 to go, the 45 Nick Beecher, and there it is. I spoke too soon, the 82 of Angel Cervantes.
It's the commentator's curse. Cervantes around. We're going to be back with the exciting rest of this main event next here on Home Track Heroes in the CW11. We have had a killer episode here of Home Track Heroes on the CW11. Thank you so much for spending your Sunday night with us. I'm Caleb Hart. He's Greg Pyland. We have got about half a main event left to go here in the Speedway Chevrolet Pro Late models and another 2x2 restart. Nick Beecher has led them all. Nama Lang trying to take it from him here on the restart as we go green.
As they come out of turn number 4, green flag is out, and Nama Lang with a great jump on the outside there. They're going to be side by side, but the advantage goes to the 18 of Nama Lang, able to get around the 45 of Nick Beecher here early on in this restart, going to the high side down the backstretch, now on the low side in turns 3 and 4, but this is the first time we're seeing the 45 not in that first spot here in this race.
Yeah, and Nama took full advantage. What a great restart that was from him, showing his veteran guile and getting around Beecher and now stretching the advantage. Meanwhile, Cox trying to poke a nose to the inside of Constance, who has been working the outside on Colton Price for that final podium position. Price in the third spot. He's trying to reel in second and facing a stiff challenge from behind as it's Constance and Cox and Bennett, who is a lead lap car at this point in time, running 4, 5, and 6 on the field.
So not a bad job there by the 98 of Greg Bennett getting back in the fold as we let's see come across. 40 laps now remain with the 18 of Nama Lang out in front. There's a good look at the 14 of Colton Price, 78 of Haley Constance, the 7 of Dawson Cox as they come down the backstretch. And here's another little bit of an issue there. It looks like the 5 of Brad Thomas going wide and then getting sideways in turn number 3.
We saw the whole thing happen. You saw the sparks as he was off on that extra paved portion of the racetrack, but car had bottomed out, came back on, overcooks it in the corner. Another caution, and this time roles will be reversed. It's going to be Nama Lang with second place Nick Beecher side by side with him, looking to take it away from him.
Yes, we'll see what the 14 of Colton Price, who currently sits in that third spot, going to be on the inside of row number 2. What he can do here. Nick Beecher obviously trying to hold on to that spot, maybe tuck behind the 18 of Nama Lang early on this restart. Lang gets a little bit of a jump here as they come back to the green flag for the restart. We'll see if it holds here as we have 39 laps to go, and it appears that it does, and Nick Beecher, unfortunately, just falling off here a little bit. The 14 of Colton Price jumping up into second.
Yeah, that was all bad news for Beecher, but the start's been called back, we understand. Getting word from the officials here at Evergreen Speedway that they want to try this one all over again. So yellow flag's out on the track, and hey, that's going to give Beecher another shot to go to the outside. Seeing what just happened on the inside, I wouldn't be surprised if Beecher doesn't gun it a little bit from the outside groove.
When you saw exactly that, where the 18 of Nama Lang did get that advantage, he didn't take that front row partner with him in the 45 of Nick Beecher, so good callback there from my perspective, but you know, I'm no expert, but it looks like a good thing to bring it back here for the 18 of Nama Lang, the 45 of Nick Beecher. There it is, once again, green flag out. That looks like a really good restart here as we still see the 45 and the 18 side by side with the edge here to Nama Lang down the backstretch.
That went a lot better for Beecher to the point where he is even with Lang at least through the center of the corner. Watch him down the front straightaway, and gosh, I'd be hard-pressed to say that Beecher isn't close to leading that lap. Now, the transponder says it was Nama, and Nama way better through 1 and 2, but I'll tell you what, that restart, way better result for the 45.
Yeah, and the 45 of Nick Beecher, as we saw, and a little bit of bump there, I think, from the 14 of Colton Price, and that's going to throw off just a little bit the 45 of Nick Beecher. Colton Price now into that second spot, but as you said, when we saw that restart before it was called back, 45 of Nick Beecher was coming back maybe into 4th place before he could get onto the low side. So coming back now and sitting in that 3rd spot, much better result here as now everybody chasing the 18 of Nama Lang with 36 laps to go.
Interestingly enough, it doesn't look like Beecher is able to really get that car all the way down on the racetrack, though, because again, going into turn 1, didn't get the bottom of the track closed off, and he made fade back into 4th as Dawson Cox, the Busch Light car on Busch Light night, works his way into a podium position now.
So Dawson Cox here holding off the 45 of Beecher, and here comes a 78 of Haley Constance to the low side of Dawson Cox. So Nick Beecher still falling back behind just a little bit further. This time it's going to be the 78 passing by as Constance and Cox side by side. Another look here, and it is Angel Cervantes in the 82 going sideways here once again.
Cervantes has had a rough run of things here in the 82 car. We'll let him get turned around and back to her. We're going to get another side-by-side restart coming up just in a couple of seconds. Lang's going to have the top spot. This will be the first chance for Colton Price to give him a run on the outside of the track.
Yeah, it'll be see what he can do in the 14 car on that high side here as we get started once again. Dawson Cox now going to be in that second row on the low side. Haley Constance should be on the high side as they come out of turn number 4 looking for a good restart here. The 18 and the 14 somewhat together here. It looks like maybe should be hopefully a good restart here for the 18 of Naima Lang. Can't tell if they've thrown the caution flag out here once again. But so far now here, and a big advantage there for the 7 of Dawson Cox as he gets rounded. Something wrong there with the 14 of Colton Price, just dropping off fast.
Get a look from the Greg Bennett in-car cam here, and you can see the green light stayed on. He's going to have to get some new hood pins here coming up during the week. So your leader is Naima Lang. Second is Cox in the Busch Beer car, right in behind him in this segment. Brought to you by Busch Beer, the official beer of NASCAR and Evergreen Speedway. Busch Beer, the sound of refreshment, crisp and bold as a mountain stream. Keep your fridge happy by stocking it with Busch and Busch Light. Busch.
And Dawson Cox thinking about that, probably in 32 laps or so as he's following the 18 of Naima Lang. Back behind, it is the 78 of Haley Constance, as Constance right working towards the 7, and then the 45 of Nick Beecher. So Beecher fell, but not too far as he's currently sitting in that 4th spot. 5th spot belongs to the 98 of Greg Bennett, but everybody chasing your champion, the 18 of Naima Lang, as they come out of turn number 4 across the start-finish line. Now just 30 laps to go.
You know, I don't know if it's a function of all the caution flag laps that we have had here that's allowed him to keep the front tires, that everything kind of cooled down in better working condition, but the 45 is showing better late race strength than what it has, so kudos to him and Kelly and Brett and the guys for continuing to work on that car and get Beecher better as the long race process goes. I know, not to give away trade secrets, but I know they've been playing with a lot of bump, a lot of spring, a lot of different stuff that they can try to do to keep the consistency of that car up, and sure looks like they're making strides. He's kind of 4th place all by himself in that picture right now.
Yeah, nice to see him hang in there as the 14 of Colton Price, so was on the front row in that restart. Here's a good look at the 14 of Colton Price in that 6th spot, back behind the 98 of Greg Bennett, trying to hold off the K9 of Caden Holm, but big drop off there, as you talked about, that importance of getting back to the low side when you're on the high side from that spot. Looks like he's dragging a little bit of debris back behind the 14 car there too, so unfortunate to see for Colton Price with a really good run here early on in this race, and now trying to battle for that 5th spot with the 98 of Greg Bennett.
So Price on the inside here to Bennett. Bennett up on the outside. He will see the position. Colton moves back forward, and you're right. There is pieces of race car hanging off the back of the 14 of Colton. I mean, it's only going to cost him 100th of a second a lap, but hey, it might matter by the time this is over. We are 2/3 of the way through this race. Naima Lang is opening it up over Dawson Cox, and Cox enjoying 2 to 3 car lengths over Haley Constance. Your top 3 just kind of hanging out in picture right now, as Naima, just like he has done so many times in his career, and he's so very comfortable with it, is gets to the lead and just out there makes good, consistent laps for it.
So you're saying he's doing his best impersonation of the 221 of Lyndon Smith right now,
That
just
sounds,
cruising out in front.
Sounds just about right. Well, you know, at this point in time, now granted, we are on the 3/8s, not the 5/8s, but he is probably putting some stuff in his bank for the Mark Galloway that's coming up here in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Can't wait for the Mark Galloway shootout here. Always an exciting race out at Evergreen Speedway, and on the 5/8 oval, always exciting to see that, as we see Naima Lang here in picture with the 7 of Dawson Cox in that 2nd spot, Haley Constance in 3rd. Back to the 45 of Nick Beecher and the 14 of Colton Price. So Price able to get around the 98 of Greg Bennett up into that 5th spot right now, and now challenging Nick Beecher going to the low side in turn number 2. So nice little recovery here, working on it at least for the 14 of Colton Price as he battles with Nick Beecher.
Now make it count if you're Colton, as he's rallied his way almost back up into 4th. Beecher is not one to see the position easy. He fights him all the way down the front straightaway, but wide path getting into 1 and 2, not going to do the trick for him, and he'll fade back to 5th.
So Price there able to complete the pass on the 45 of Nick Beecher as they come into turns 3 and 4. There's a K9 Caden Holm just coming in. Also the 16 of Daniel Moore in frame as we continue to follow the 14 of Colton Price out of turn number 2, heading towards the backstretch. Naima Lang in the 18 in 1st, 70 of Dawson Cox in 2nd, and we have Haley Constance in the 78. Back to your leader, the 18 of Naima Lang.
Just 19 laps left to go here as Lang's going to come up on Dan Beecher's 74 car and look to put him in his rear view mirror. Lang cruising up and through next to Beecher. Beecher does the gentlemanly thing, gives him plenty of room to race by on the bottom of the racetrack. And Naima completes another circuit with 18 to go here and continues to open up some distance over Cox. Meanwhile, further back in the field, Bennett, the 98, is experiencing some car fade. That car has taken a lot of damage in this. You never know what may have gone wrong on that car, so he's coming backwards a little ways. Meanwhile, that is for 5th. Beecher in the 45 got a nose from Holm in the K9. Caden starting to get some pressure from a late race getting stronger Daniel Moore in the 16.
Yeah, we saw Daniel Moore with some issues earlier on in this race, and like you said, coming back on strong here in the 16, battling for a top 5 finish in the 75-lap race is Nick Beecher holding off Caden Holm, but Holm looking a little bit sharper on the low side as they come out of turn number 2, heading towards the backstretch, able to hold off the 9K or the K9 of Caden Holm as the 45 of Nick Beecher that time around, as Beecher comes out of turn number 4, still hanging on to that 5th spot.
Wyatt Gardner just barely in the picture in the very clean, sharp-looking number 3 car. It is Holm. Left side tires below the white line through the middle of turn number 1. That allows Beecher to escape a bit. He'll get away just for a second, but Holm right back on him out the exit of corner number 4. And looking to swing to the outside to maybe make a loop-around move on the 45 of Beecher. Beecher has not been able to get the car all the way down into the white in 1 and 2. We've seen that consistently, but much stronger turns in 3 and 4. So if he can hold Caden back there, he's got a shot at keeping this top 5 run that he's got going.
In this group of 5 through 8, so much action going on between them. It's kind of a 2-on-2 race here with the 45 and the K9 and then the 16 and the 3 of Gardner. But great action here as we see that continued battle for that top 5th spot, currently held right now by the 45 of Nick Beecher. And Caden Holm and the K9 trying to take a look to the low side as they come out of turn number 4. Looks like he has the line coming into turns 1 and 2. They'll be side by side coming out of turn number 2. Caden Holm and Nick Beecher battling for 5th.
Beecher gave him a lot of space there at the bottom of turn number 1, but actually beat him into turn number 3 and has a good run coming off of 4. Now, can he get down racetrack to make it tough on Caden? Caden again deep in on the bottom of 1 and 2, as this is a nice side-by-side battle for 5th, and advantage goes to Holm as they enter turn number 3.
And it looks like the 16 of Daniel Moore is going to be trying to take that same line that Caden Holm, as Holm gets a little bit loose coming out of turn number 4. So Daniel Moore looking to hopefully keep the 45 of Nick Beecher on the high side in turns 1 and 2, but not enough speed to keep pace with them. And look at the speed by the 45 of Nick Beecher down the backstretch, getting back side by side, and we're going to have 3 wide in turn 4.
It's a little Beecher on Beecher violence that might have ended up getting him right there, as Dan was just enough in the racing groove at the entrance of the corner that it might have cost Nick. He had to back out of her a bit. We're going to look back. This is 2nd and 3rd. Dawson Cox in the 7. Now your leader way out of frame at this point in time, but 3rd place Haley Constance in the 78, a car length or 2 back from Dawson and making it tough on him.
Yeah, and we have a lap car. It looks like to be the 82 of Angel Cervantes right in front of the 7 of Dawson Cox. So Dawson Cox is not gaining any of that distance between himself and the 18 of Nay Malang right now. And to top it all off, there's a lap car right out in front of him.
So cars right in front of your lead group that might, actually it might be the 10 of Cottrell at this point in time that's in front of them. So Cox to the inside, he's gonna make the pass. Haley gonna follow, both of them get by as the light's now showing bright here in this main event. It's gonna be 5 to go as Lang crosses the transponder loop and everybody else gonna follow. Cox and Constance, the battle for the runner-up position here, and it is tight in the final few laps.
So we'll see what the groups can do back behind, but we continue to watch the 70 of Dawson Cox, the 78 of Haley Constance. There's your leader, the 18 of Nay Malang, as Lang cruising down the front stretch into turns number 1 and 2, now back behind the 5 of Brad Thomas as they go down the backstretch once again. Getting closer and closer as the 78 of Haley Constance to the 7 of Dawson Cox as they come down into turn number 3 and 4 now. Now 4 laps remain in this 75-lap main event.
Haley was better through 3 and 4 that time. We're watching as they're closing in on the 12 of Fitzpatrick here in the late stages of this. So Cox and Constance for 2nd with just a few more laps around. And Haley all over the back of Dawson. 2 more times to make something happen. Into turn 1, she got half a groove lower than he was there, and right up on the rear bumper cover through the middle of the turns.
You know, what a fun battle to watch these 2 drivers, young, talented drivers that are going back and forth. And, you know, it's Busch Light night, so I know Dawson Cox wants to be up there, and now we are side by side. 78 of Haley Constance with the advantage on the low side of Dawson Cox as they come out of turn number 2 towards the backstretch. And look at that move by the 78 of Haley Constance.
Nema Lang going to get the win. Congratulations to him on taking another one. And what a last lap pass for the runner-up spot. You can see it, 78 of Haley Constance puts Dawson Cox back to third in a fantastic battle. Let's go down trackside. Let's get your winner, second, and third place's thoughts on this race to the Angel of the Winds Casino Resort podium.
Dawson wheels up drive to try and charge back through the pack there after unfortunately getting sent to the back in the 7D. And with Haley right behind you there, it looked like the thing kind of tanked with about 10 or 15 laps to go.
You say 10 or 15. It felt more like 25. No, we had a phenomenal car. We just put the motor in. It's a big motor. I clearly need a lot of work as a driver to keep it under me. I was driving like a Honyak for half the race. I mean, it was just frustrating with myself. But, you know, the other big issue I had was just, you know, I made that mistake, you know, where they're doing the choose call, and I forgot we were doing choose this year. So I got sent to the back and probably wore a bunch of the good off, and here's where we are. So got to thank everybody that helped me. Let's see, I'd like to start with my dad. Me and him got a bunch of work in the past 3 weeks to get it where we are. Tyson Sandhofer, my sister, my girlfriend Riley, my mom, I danked my dad again, but the crew, you got Keith, Eugene, my spotter, Augie, and then of course my sponsors, Anheuser-Busch. Oh, sorry, I had Tom Moriarty helped me today a little. But I'd like to thank my sponsors, Busch Light of Anheuser-Busch.
And Dawson, I know you guys put the big motor in for this weekend. What differences did it make to the 7D in terms of setup, or was it a little bit noticeable?
We did nothing to set up. I don't really know how we ended up where we ended up, but the car was good. It just wasn't good enough.
Dawson Cox, third place run tonight, the 7D. Nice run back up through the field, Dawson. Haley, you and Dawson, I think he said for the last 20 or so laps when the tires started to fall off in the 7D, were nose to tail. How'd you finally get the job done going into one there in the last lap, coming to get the white?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I know we had one lap to go, so I know I had to dig and get around Dawson. But I'm super glad that I can race with these awesome drivers, and they give me room, and I give them room, and it's all about respect. And I'm glad we could put it on the podium tonight.
I know this 78 car seems like the theme of it is as the run goes on, it gets better and better throughout the night. With all the short runs that we had to start this thing off, it was a little bit frustrating with getting shuffled based on the lane choice with the restarts.
That's for sure. We kept getting stuck on the outside, but we eventually got around everybody and got a good long run. So I'm hoping the theme continues and we can put it in first next race.
I'd like to thank all the guys and girls you have supporting you with the 78 camp.
Huge thanks to my dad, Joe's Racing Products, Bill Hunt, Central Welding Supplies, Snohomish Hay and Cattle, Mazda of Everett, DeYoung Inc., and there's a lot of other people that I'm probably forgetting, but thank you to everybody who came out and watched in Evergreen Speedway.
Haley Constance, strong second place run tonight, the 78. Nicely done, Haley. Neva, back-to-back main event wins this 18 car. You got managed to get some strong track position off of the initial start, and then with all the restarts, it was either good on your end or bad, depending on the lane choice.
Yeah, it was tough. You know, when you get those restarts, so many back-to-back, and you're running guys with big motors, it makes a tough race to get in front of them. The long runs is what I like, is what the car likes. When we started off today, the first practice was wet. Second practice, we were the worst we've ever been, and we just threw the sink at it and worked out well. Can't thank Mark enough for all of his work.
Was it a nice aha moment after throwing the sink to it, those first few laps when you felt the thing was decent?
Well, I was crossing all my fingers, hoping and praying that the car would be decent in the turn, and luckily enough it did, and here I am.
I know you guys, again, got a lot of supporters here with the 18 camp that help you guys out week in and week out and cheer you on from the stands.
Yeah, I got a lot of fans come out, all my friends, family, we all come out and love it. Can't thank J&R Truck Rentals, J&R Motorsports, Lang Auto Sports, Tracy DeYoung Inc., and everybody that helps me out.
Nema Lang getting the job done again to the 18. Nicely done, Nema.
Fantastic show today. Greg Pyland, thank you so much for joining me here in the booth. It was a fantastic run, and always nice to have you around.
You know, it's a blast. I always love being in here with you in the booth, Caleb, and so much fun to see for me, one of my favorites, the Pro Late models. Thought it was a great race tonight, and nice to see the 18 in the winner's circle once again.
Well, I'll tell you what, we got a great show coming at you next week. Next weekend, Street Stocks, Legends, Super Stock Figure 8s, Youth Hornets and Hornets on the very same card. Next time you can be at Evergreen Speedway, it's the Mark Galloway Shootout. 75 laps in the 5/8s for both the Super Late models and the Pro Late models, Street Stocks, and Minis as well. For Greg, I'm Caleb Hart, producers, engineers, camera people, all them. We love you so much, and heck, we'll even have the A-Team back next week as Kyler fills in for me. So long, everybody. See you next week on the CW11.
Thanks for watching Evergreen Speedway's Home Track Heroes on CW11. Join us next week for more great racing from Evergreen Speedway.